Republican State Representative Giovanni Capriglione of Southlake, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. First, your reaction with the Supreme Court's decision today to overturn Roe v. Wade.
Oh, very excited, thankful to the Supreme Court. Just over 50 years ago, the Supreme Court made a terrible mistake, ending the lives of millions and undeniably negatively affecting the lives of millions more. But today, with this decision, the Supreme Court reverses that error and puts America at a new beginning, one of hope and care and love for all lives.
And so this will essentially kick off the trigger law here in Texas as it relates to abortion. So when does it go in effect? And talk to me a little bit about what Texans can expect under this new law. You authored it.
Sure. So what we did is we passed the Human Life Protection Act last session that essentially we put into effect last September. And it says that to the fullest extent allowed in the case of Roe v. Wade being overturned, Texas laws would ban abortions. So in terms of the timing, it's going to take, I think, about 25 days for the Supreme Court's ruling to become fully official and finalized. And 30 days from that point, so sometime in mid-August, the Human Life Protection Act goes into full effect, effectively banning abortions in the state of Texas.
Are there exceptions?
There's an exception in the legislation and in the law now that in the case of serious or harm to the life or the health of the woman, that would be an exception under this law for an abortion.
Are you expecting any legal challenges now to this law, either in the federal or state courts?
I think any time that we've ever seen legislation around this, we always expect some sort of legal challenge to it. But I think what the Supreme Court said today was pretty blunt and pretty accurate. And I think for those of us who have been pro-life, exactly right, which is the U.S. Constitution has never conferred the right of abortion. This is something that should be done in a rational, legal way by elected officials who are accountable to their voters. And that's where this should be decided, and this is where it decided. And I think the courts, having seen what the Supreme Court has said and just today, will side with this legislation and this law in Texas.
How concerned are you, though? It doesn't sound like you're too concerned about facing a legal challenge, but what do you say to those who say, what about a woman's right?
Unborn, preborn children are both women and men. And what this legislation does is it extends the protections of the state to all lives. And I think that's what's important. And I think that's what those of us who have been pro-life for a long time have always said and always prayed for and always mentioned, which is it is our obligation, it is our duty to follow the Constitution as lawmakers, but also to have laws that protect everyone. And with the ruling that the Supreme Court does, it finally allows the state and the state of Texas and all states that choose to do so to protect the lives of everyone. And irrespective of gender, irrespective of age, our goal has always been to make sure that life is treated with respect and that it's taken care of and importantly protected.
And so when the regular session begins in January or even before that, when lawmakers start filing bills, are you expecting a flurry of bills from Democrats to try to restore abortion rights in Texas?
I absolutely do. I mean, they are representing people who themselves who don't believe, in my opinion, in the sanctity of human life. So of course they'll file those bills. I don't expect them to go anywhere in the sense of passing, but I also expect Republican lawmakers to continue to focus on life. One of the things that we've done, I think, a really good job here in Texas is trying to help and support women and children. And I expect, I am on the Appropriations Committee, I'm the Article 2 Subcommittee Chair, so I focus on health and human services. And I expect us to do more than we've ever done to make sure that we protect and that we provide services and care, both perinatal, postnatal, care for women and children who now are going to continue to need our help and our services to make sure that we can take care of these brand new young babies that have a chance at life and doing great things for everybody.
And so what kinds of things are you talking about, services wide, program wise?
Some of the things that we did last legislative session, for instance, is we extended the amount of Medicaid support we had for women who had given birth. We extended that from 2 months of healthcare to 6 months. I think there's a lot of support for extending that for up to a full year, for instance. I think we're looking at expanding or at least promoting and making sure that adoptive services are there. We're going to continue to work on foster care system, but we also have some current inbuilt programs such as our Alternatives to Abortion program, for instance, which provides everything from diapers to daycare and other things that are available. And I expect us to continue to go and promote the well-being and the safety. I just think that given what's going to happen, which is a good thing, which is we're going to see more babies actually having the chance at life, we do have an obligation or responsibility. And I think for those of us in the majority of the Republicans, we absolutely support life, both pre-birth and after birth. And we're going to work and focus on that this session and forever.
I know that when we talked before, there has been discussion by a South Texas lawmaker, Briscoe Cain, about preventing companies and individuals from paying for people to travel out of state, women out of state, to get an abortion. Talk to me a little bit about what you have heard.
Yeah, so there's, like I said, there's, and like you said, actually there's, we always have opportunity. I think on average we'll file 7,000 pieces of legislation each time, and I think a lot of them will be centered on this. And in regards to that particular piece of legislation, which as I understand hasn't been filed yet, but I mean, here's the case, it's more a legal case is, should Texas allow companies to pay people to go around Texas laws? I mean, even if you don't talk about the abortion laws specifically, I have a problem with that. I think a lot of other Texans will have a problem with anyone who's trying to seek to be an accomplice in breaking these state laws.
And how concerned are you that that would be considered intrusion if somebody else wants to go to another state to have an abortion? Why shouldn't they be allowed to go?
Well, I think the case is going to be centered around with whether they're violating Texas law as it now stands or will stand in 55 days, or if they're doing this of their own free will and their volition. We also have other legislation that we passed, some really good legislation called the Heartbeat Bill that would, in some of those cases, could make either the corporation or some individuals who are helping others get an abortion could make them civilly liable for doing so. And the Supreme Court, as of at least as far as I know, hasn't voided that law at all. So the Heartbeat Bill continues to remain in effect, and therefore would act as a civil form of action against people doing that.
So, so some aspects you're saying of the Heartbeat Act would still remain in effect, while the main part would be, in which you're allowing an abortion before cardiac activity is detected, right? So, but
Sure.
that part is not in place anymore, right?
No, both laws are effective as of today. Both laws are still in effect, right? So the Human Life Protection Act essentially says that abortion is illegal in the state of Texas, and the Heartbeat Bill says that any abortions done under 6 weeks or 6 weeks and under put the participants in the abortion or people help in that abortion liable civilly. The Human Life Protection Act is really more focused on criminal penalties or other penalties, for instance, for example, for the doctor or doctors who are performing the abortion. So kind of different. And I think as of right now, they'll be just sitting next to each other side by side in protecting these infants.
And I did have one other question, but the a lot of people say it's 6 weeks because that's when cardiac activity can be detected. But I'm wondering under, this new law that will take effect in August, people won't even be able to do that, right?
That is correct, not legally.
Okay. Okay. Anything else that you'd like to say that I didn't ask you about?
No, I just, again, I'm thankful that the Supreme Court fixed this mistake that has been in our books, unfortunately, for a very long time. And it just, for all of us, I know this has been a very contentious conversation, will continue to be a contentious conversation, but I hope we always keep in mind that what the goal is to go and make sure that all of these babies have a chance at life and have an opportunity to be great Americans and help all of us.
State Representative Giovanni Capriglione of Southlake, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it today. Thank you.
Thank you.